Hi and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to create this cool looking photo effect with Photoshop with just few simple steps and few stock images. Let's start. So I'll just start by duplicating the layer over here. To duplicate you can just click and drag it here, or we can press Ctrl+J to duplicate the layer. Next I'll just increase the brightness of the image so see better for the selection and for other options. I'll just go to adjustments layers here and go to the brightness. I'll just increase all the way up. Somewhere we can see all the lines and greases properly. So next what I'll do is I'll just choose for time being I'll just hide this, or I'll just reduce a little bit more to see if it's too bright we can't see the most of the details properly. That's the reason. Next basically we need to hide here the tires over here. That's the main idea here. Once you hide the tires, then you can go further and do some extra manipulations in the background. So what I do is I'll just choose a marquee tool from here. I'll choose a rectangular, and basically I need to cover this tire, so I'll just choose somewhere from here the area which I'll just click and drop it over here. Then I'll be extending this to make it look like there is no tire, or to match the overall body of the car. For this I have selected here, I have created a small marquee here, and I'll choose the original background layer and press Ctrl+J to duplicate only this part. Next I'll just press Ctrl+T for transformation tool and just click and stretch this. If I stretch this, you can see all the parts are getting stretched out. This happens because I'm on Photoshop 2020. That's the reason. If you're on previous versions, you can just click and drag. In my case I need to hold shift and then I need to click and move to the side. If you're on previous versions, you can just click and move. In case if you're in Photoshop the recent version, you may need to hold shift to extend only this part of the area. I'll just stretch it somewhere here. Next I'll just zoom little bit and I'll try to basically merge it to match the background of the car. I'll just choose wrap. I'll just try to adjust some parts of the here to basically look it more natural and blended. Basically I'm just matching this white line over here to match more dynamically. Like it should not look like separated from the it's a separate piece or something. I'm just trying to match it to the background. You can see some of these greases here. You can just lift it up to match here, and these parts somewhere here, and stretch this a little bit down. The idea is basically you need to match or hide the car, also keeping in mind that you also match the other parts over here. By the way, you can zoom in or zoom out by holding alt and the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out. So I think this is somewhat okay. This looks like it's well merged, so I'll just confirm by hitting the tick mark over there, and I'll be removing some parts over here to match it properly. I'll just use a spot healing brush to remove these greases from here. We can increase or decrease the size of the brush by hitting square brackets on the keyboard. There it goes. Next I'll just add mask here. This mask, I'll just try to hide some of the parts over here so it doesn't look so sharp. You can also see here there is a little bit of difference here. Try to match it. Basically it should you can hide this. You can hide the selection by hitting Ctrl H aligned to look good. I'll just hide by pressing Ctrl H, but this transformation is still active, but still you can't see because you're just hiding the two. I'll just basically properly wrap it around there. It somewhat looks good. We can again reveal the part by hitting Ctrl H and hitting confirmation. Do you using the mask? I'll just hide some parts of the image over here. Just for this I'll just choose brush or press B in the keyboard. As mask is selected, I'll just choose around 40% opacity to properly merge in. I'm just hiding the things in the corner. Just it looks like a faded effect. And I'll just go around the corners a little bit here. You can see that this part is not so exactly blended in. What you can do is you can just add another piece of this one by just using the same tool here. Just choose this part and again duplicate it, and just move it somewhere here to blend in more good. And we can hide this some of the parts by just using a mask option and choosing the brush. I'll just hide some parts over here. You can choose a bit harder brush. We can further enhance this depending on your image. I'll just stop here. It looks somewhat good. In case if you want, I can just again come back to this image and again do some more adjustments. Since you can see it's properly blended here, this looks good for me. And I'll use the same method to hide the front tires also. I'll just choose a part from here and just extend this part over here to make it to make the tire invisible and further blend in. Before that I'll just choose this part piece over here so I can add this again in the once I cover this part of the image. For this I'll just choose a basic marquee tool again. By the way, you can also pan around by holding the space bar. You can just control the transformation over here just by holding the space bar, and you can move around if you want to do that. I'll just choose this part and I'll hit Ctrl+J. I'm doing this on the main background layer over here. Hitting Ctrl+J, I'll just activate this one. I'll just hide this for some moment. I'll do the same thing to cover this also now. I'll the same some marquee tool over here. I'm choosing this to hide the other parts of the car. Again Ctrl+J to duplicate the layer. I'll just to move this to the top so that it's easy to blend and remember. You can always rename your layers if you want to keep track on this one, since I know where the parts are here, like which part is what. I can just remember, but since I'm not renaming it, it's always better to rename your layers. It will help you do your workout or the manipulation very easy. I'll just use Ctrl+T to, and I'll just hold Shift and X in this front to hide the parts or the car tires over here. I'll just zoom in and change it to wrapped to further properly blend in or to match some perspective here. We can hide this by using mask over here, so that's not an issue. So this looks good here, it looks a little bit bended. I'll just try to slightly merge it. You can hide the transformation areas by just hitting Ctrl+H to see properly. You can see there's a little bit of this one, but it doesn't make so much. If you further concerned about this one, you can just slowly lift and basically match it to the two, make it perfect. And again hit the Ctrl+H to reveal the area, and just confirm this by hitting here or just pressing enter to confirm the transformation. And I need to hide some areas over here. Again I need to hide this and this. For this I'll just choose brush over here and click on the mask to create a mask, and just hide some parts over here. And if you are removing this grease, or if you can do this by doing clicking on the healing brush tool, and make sure your brush is somewhat bigger than the area you're trying to remove, and just click and drag. This is happening because I'm on the mask layer here. That is the reason. You need to be on the original layer to do this. I'll click this, and now I'll just do the same thing. There it goes. You can leave this piece here if you want, or you can remove this part and you can apply it, or so you can remove this if you want. I'll just keep it here. I'll just add one more over here to give it a little more different kind of look. So next I'll choose a brush tool and click on the mask to hide some parts. I'll just make sure it's around at least 50 or 60% hardness, so you can basically remove some parts without any kind of soft corners, or it looks soft edges. I'll just remove this by clicking over here. You can also see better by just reducing the opacity. Somewhere we can see the background and zoom in. Again click on the mask and reduce the brush size, and then remove some parts of the where it's over the car's lights. So it looks okay, but I'll just merge in a little bit more so we can't see any hard edges. Okay, this looks somewhat good for me, and I have this other piece over here. I'll just move it to the top. I'll just add this again to this part near to the main image here. I'll just add it over here so it looks good or kind of different kind of effect. So this looks good for me. So here we can see some more areas are there. We can just remove those areas by again using the same option. To reveal some of the shine here, I'll just reduce my opacity to maybe around 10%. Here opacity is going to change to 10%. Just slightly bring some shiny details of the car back. Okay, next I'll just cut out the car from the background. For this I'll be choosing pen tool for this one, since we got a lot of sharp edges and the car looks very sharp. To get some precise cutout, I'll just choose a pen tool for this one. Before doing this, since we got all the pieces of the layer, so I'll just merge everything to one layer. We can do this by creating a new layer and merging everything to a single layer. We can do this by holding Ctrl, Alt, Shift and pressing E. Here was a mistake what I have done when I was merging everything together. Even the brightness got included in this one. I don't want to include this, so for this I just hit Ctrl+Z to go back a step further and hide this brightness layer, and do the same thing again holding Ctrl+Alt+Shift+E to merge everything to a single layer. Then I'll select the brightness layer to reveal the brightness of this one. Next I'll choose a pen tool. I'll choose pen tool to cut off the car from the background. I'll just quick forward this one, so you no need to wait and watch all this everything. I'll just press Ctrl+Z to fit it to the full screen and right click and choose make selection. I have choose feather to 100. Yes, if you are doing some any other resolution photo, you may need to increase or decrease the size of that one. So after the selection, I'll just hit Ctrl+J to duplicate it. You can see it's been separated from the layer. I'll just insert a new layer here just to show you guys. I'll choose something like red and hold Ctrl and press backspace to apply the background light. This is what the cutout we got of the eliminating the background. So I'll just move this car to other place over here, and we'll do some adjustments over here. Now while this move this layer to my this layer over here. For this we can just you choose hold Control and move. You can see I'm just holding this one. That's a mistake because the layer over here I haven't selected on the red layer or the background layer. That's the reason I'm not able to move. You just click on the layer here and just click and move to the whichever background you want to move it to. Or you can also do is click on the move tool here and just click and move to the other layer. But I feel like holding control and moving is very sufficient, and it will help you to work faster using the shortcuts in Photoshop. Since I have moved here, I'll just convert this to smart object. What a smart object is basically is like we can stretch and squeeze the image without affecting any pixels. In a short form, it's a brief explanation for the object. So next I'll just resize this one to match the perspective of the background. For this I'll hit Ctrl+T to activate the transformation tool and just try to maybe move around. You can see here if I remove this, you can see the horizon line is somewhere here, the perspective here. So basically you need to try to match it to the background whichever you're trying to apply it. I'll just reduce the size a little bit more. Somewhere here it will do. Since it will be floating in the air, you don't need to be so exact in matching the background. It should be somewhere a little bit at least to match around. Somewhere here will do for me. And I'll just also slightly change the perspective to the front and increase over here to show that it's now sideways. And I'll just hit tick mark to confirm my selection here. It looks okay for me for this one, or maybe I need to move it a little bit down here. This will also do, that's what it depends on the perspective or the background, the type of background you are choosing to work with. I'll choose, maybe we can choose it somewhere here. Okay, I'll keep it somewhere here, a little bit upper or lower size, because you can see the perspective of the main image and the background is completely different. It goes around somewhere here, so it's little hard to exactly match because we are removing the tires from here. That's one of the main reason you need to be a little careful when matching the background and the car perspective. I'll just choose it somewhere here. I think this will do for me. Next we need to match the color of the background and the car. This we can do is, it looks good for me. I'll need to match the color with the background. For this I'll choose a curves adjustments layer, and I just wanted to restrict this all the effects only to the car, so I'll just click here to clip the curves adjustments only to the car here, so it doesn't affect or do any changes to the other areas of the background. Just restrict all the changes to be applied only to the color. Make sure your focus area is on the adjustment layer and not on the mask, and then I'll hold Alt and click on the auto button to bring up the details or the extra options which we can choose where to apply or where to choose the colors from. I'll choose the find dark and light colors and choose for darker shade of this color. For darker shades of the car, I'll just choose shadows and choose any dark color from the background. I'll choose somewhere maybe from here and confirm by clicking OK. And for the lighter colors or the highlights, I'll choose maybe the sky. You can choose the sky or maybe the clouds, or you can choose any white color which is available in your background. For this I just choose the sky color over here, or the highlights to basically match the colors of the background to blend in properly. You can see here since we choose white but still the color looks somewhat orangey over here, and click OK to confirm. Again OK to confirm. It will ask if you want to save this as defaults. Hit no to confirm and get back to our main composition here. Since somehow I managed to add or choose the color here, you can always choose other options for blending. This seems to be a very easy option to blend in the colors, so that's the reason I chose this one. I just move this layer a little bit down. So basically, because we don't have any other options, like you don't have proper perspective of the background image, You may need to do some trial and errors kind of thing, like adjusting it where exactly to match the perspective, maybe somewhere here. Okay, next tutorial you can always go back and adjust in case if you want to do any changes or to the location of the car in the future after applying some effects. And also next I'll be adding tires over here to make it look like it's like a kind of lifting up with some flames and thing. And for this I'll just choose this tire over here. You can choose any kind of tires as per your requirement. I'll just choose this one. So for this also I'll just choose the pen tool for selection. You can hit P for selection. I'll just fast forward this one, so you can just now I'll just duplicate the selection. Right click on the selection area, make selection. I'll just move this to 0.5 pixels and hit OK, and press Ctrl+J to duplicate the layer. And also I may need to do some adjustments to the tire, so I'll just create a new layer with any background color, red or black. I'll choose white over here. Then you can hold Alt and hit backspace to change the color. Because since we got some darker areas here, I don't want darker areas in my selection. I'll just try to choose all a single color. I'll simply do this by just selecting this area, this part of the image, and just trying to duplicate it and flip it over to make a single piece. Again hit Ctrl+J to duplicate, Ctrl+Alt to activate the transformation tool, and just flip it horizontal and just try to match the other areas here. This looks good. We can hide this part, some parts over here, by erasing the layer. For this we can choose just hit eraser button, pressing E, and just we can erase this. I'll just merge both into one single piece. For this we can just click on the other layer by holding shift and hitting Ctrl+E to merge both the layers to single layer. So this is one piece. Now I'll just click and hold drag to my main composition here and drop it over here. And also I'll change this to smart object, so if you want any changes, increase or decrease in the future, you can do that without any issues. First thing what I'll do, I'll just hit again Ctrl+T and properly basically adjust this somewhat to match the car, and flip it vertical. This looks somewhat okay, and I'll slightly squash it a little bit. Okay, this looks good for me. And next what I'll do, I'll just duplicate this again to apply to the rear wheels or the back side of the wheels. Okay, so this looks good. I'll just add some mask to remove the extras from here. Like you can see some pieces over here which is sticking out. We need to hide those things. I'll just choose brush tool again, and maybe around 50% of the hardness, and change opacity to 50% again. Use a brush size by hitting bracket crease and just hide some of the parts over here so it's not popping out. Depending on your image, you may need to do some changes to your image, like if I choose some other tires, you may need to change or zoom in more closely to properly hide and reveal the details. This depends completely on your image which you're choosing. For example, if you have higher resolution, you may need to zoom in and remove most parts. If you have some kind of less resolution, it doesn't show on the main composition when you zoomed out completely of the image. So since we already got this image and this looks somewhat okay to me, I'll just add some shadows over here to make it blend in more. For this, I'll just create a new layer here, zoom in, choose a soft brush, hardness to 0, increase the brush size. I'll choose black for this one, or you can choose any available color. I'll just pick this color from here, reduce the opacity to 10%. I'll just slightly brush over here on the tires. Okay, this looks good for me. This looks good for me now. So next, I'll just add some fire or fire effect over it to the wheels over here, so it looks like it's bursting out from the the sparks and smoke, so it looks a little bit more interesting. For this, I'll just choose a new layer here, and I'll move the layer to the below the tire layers over here. So any changes you do, or you can also move it below the car layer, so anything you applied only comes out of the these locations and doesn't affect any other parts of the image. Next, I'll choose something like maybe yellow, any flame colors. If you're good with the colors, you can choose any color which you're good with. I'll just choose this yellow here and increase my brush size. I'll zoom in and paint over here with around 50%. I'll add some reds, and also blues. So once you added these colors, what you can do is you can choose the smudge tool from here, and smudge tool, and basically just create kind of flamey effect, so show that it looks like flames. We can increase, I'll just increase the strength to 50%. I'll just put some colors. I'll add some more colors. So it looks somewhat good for me. Then this looks good for me now. I'll just add some more yellows to make it look like it's hot. So make it a little bit to make this a little bit more interesting, I'll just add some more colors over here. I'll just choose linear blending option here, linear dodge, and choose yellow, light yellow color from here, and increase the brush size and brush and increase the brush size to around little bit bigger, and opacity to 10%, and just slightly brush over here. Next, I'll add some shadows to the car. For this, what I'll do, I'll just create a new layer and choose dark color, dark grayish color, or the black color you can choose, and slightly brush over here and reduce opacity to maybe 10% or 5%. I'll choose 10% here. I'll just brush over here to create a shadow effect here and choose transformation tool, kind of create the effect. And you can also increase the effect by, you can also increase the shadow effect by applying some blur. You can, for this you can go to filter, blur and Gaussian blur, and choose around 40 or maybe 50%, something to make it more look more natural. Next, I'll just increase the intensity of these flames because it doesn't look so good. I mean, it doesn't look so natural or like a flame. We can just increase this one by choosing other option, like you can use color dodge to increase the intensity or add some shine or brightness to this one. So I'll just choose a new layer from here and choose blending option or the layer style to remove the transparency here, and change the layers to color dodge and choose a white color and reduce it with around maybe 5% of opacity. You can just brush in. This will add a more intensity or like a glowing effect which looks good. You can reduce this by if the intensity looks too harsh, you can slightly reduce it by the opacity. I'll choose some over here and I'll also choose I'll create a new layer and choose different kind of brush, maybe any brush strokes kind of brush to add some more details. I'll choose this brush. I think it's a default brush, you can find it in Photoshop, and I'll slightly brush over here. For this I'll just choose again the yellow color or any color which looks like flame. That's basically yellow, white, blue and red. I'll choose this color and slightly brush over here to create that effect. And again blur this layer by choosing filter, blur. For this time I'll just choose motion blur and apply to 90 degrees and choose somewhere around 20, maybe 40, 36 something. I'll choose 45 and click OK. For this effect I'll add some red colors to this. Basically just trying to create a flame effect. Okay, this looks good, and you can still improve by choosing the soft round brush and this color dodge selected. You can brush in some areas to make it more interesting. I'll choose here maybe around 3% and slightly add some glow or intensity to the image so it looks, actually the flames are very harsh. So this looks good for me. I'll just stop it here. Looks good. We can go ahead and further enhance this by choosing any background color to merge in or blend in properly. You can choose I'll just create a new layer for this one, and I'll change opacity to maybe 5% and pick a color. From holding alt you can pick any color from the background or foreground. I'll choose something this color here or any color from the background, and increase the brush size and slightly blend in everything together. Just slightly brush on it to make it more interesting. Now it looks like more blended to the image, and the whole image looks kind of flat with all the layers merged together. And if you think the car looks more not so contrasty, what you can use, you can, since you have the car here, since you have the options enabled here, what you can do is you can slightly reduce the little bit of intensity. So basically you can bring more of the contrast back to the image. I'll choose them not so much, I'll choose maybe 60%. This looks good for me. In case if you got different kind of images, or you may need to increase or decrease the effect. Next, I'll add some smoke to the composition here so it looks more natural, like smoke coming off these engines. For this, I'll just create a new layer. I'll choose brush, or you can press B for brush tool and right click. I'll choose this cloud brush here. You can choose any brush. If you got any other smoke brushes also, you can use the smoke brushes. Since I got cloud brush, I'll just use this, and I'll change the I'll change my color to white, and I'll slightly brush over here, and then my opacity is around 20% here, or you can reduce it to 10% and just build the smoke. Okay, you don't need to overdo it, or it may doesn't look so natural. I'll reduce the brush size to maybe 73% and go in some more for a little more detail. This looks good for me. I'll just stop here. Hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you got any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below, and also subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the future videos. I'll be making a lot of videos related to manipulation, and if you're into manipulation, you should subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video.